Hello, Warrior Women. Kara McCoy here, and welcome to today's podcast. We're going to look at the problem with macros. Now, we're in a macro loving arena these days, and I get that. So, macros in my day, when I first started all of this back in 1981, was protein, carbs, and fats. But these days, it's all about the macros, and you've got so many podcasts coming out about that. But what I have learned is I would prefer meals over macros. And what do I mean by that? Once you learn, if you've got a coach who is coaching you, or if you want to build your own plans around macronutrients, you can get that in place. The challenge with staying with everything being about macros, it is we call it the illusion of control. And I've known women who stopped using their macro app counter, and all of a sudden the weight came back. And one lady who had been with me for a long time said, I'm gaining weight. I've got to go back to the app. Okay, so what's really going on here is she did not learn how to manage it herself and learn the rules of the road in order to manage her food in an intuitive way. Now, we can't just jump to intuitive eating. A lot of women think I'm intuitive eating because I'm not using any tracking and I just eat what I want. Okay, that's fine. And that's good. But if you're reaching your goals and you're happy with it and you're strong and lean and all that stuff, then you got it on track, man. And congrats to you. But a lot of people say they're eating intuitively without a plan, without a strategy, without any guideposts. And or they're saying, I'm happy the way I am. I don't want to do all the work. I just don't want to do all the work and I'll accept how I am. But for a lot of women, if they have quite a bit of weight to lose, they're really not accepting where they are at. They're just not in a strategy or a system that's going to change anything for them. So they are saying to the outside world and maybe trying to make themselves believe that they're okay with everything. But what I do know is when women have lost a lot of the excess weight, they always say, I wasn't happy over there. I just didn't want to show it, right? So there's two sides to every coin, guys. And this is not me passing judgment on anyone. This is a lot of women aren't even into weight loss, and that's cool too. If you're not into weight loss for whatever reason, it's your journey. It's your choice, and that's cool. But for the women that want to, and I see them all wrapped up in macros, I say we've got to loosen things up. Okay. So a lot of the times the personality comes along for the ride, and that personality can often be all or nothing, a perfectionist, an overachiever, a workaholic. And so the macro suits their personality, but it actually begins to work against them because they're caught in yet another tight box. And my whole role as a coach is to get women into what I call food freedom. So if you're on my YouTube channel or on my podcast channel, there is the 4 food rules, which is a video and an audio that talks about meals, macros, timings, and portions. And this is where I lead women so that they can move into learning and then they let go of the structure and they move into an automatic reset and a remote control around their food, which is intuitive eating. But we've got to know the rules. The problem is a lot of women stick to hard rules like macro counting, and it makes them a prisoner of the whole process. So there's the other one, if it fits your macros, which I'm not a fan of because it's like, well, if you didn't get your protein throughout the day, you got to jam it in at night. Or again, it is, oh, I see a lot of this in the bodybuilding world. When you're in bodybuilding, everything is extreme, but we're not supposed to live like that. And I see a lot of former competitors and bodybuilders training their clients in this way. And I have clients coming to me saying, it was just too much work. It's not sustainable. And I don't want to live like that. And so this is where I competed for many years and I moved away from it halfway through my competing days into intuitive eating. And I still did very well in my shows because I had learned the rinse and repeat in the automatic pilot, if you will, of intuitive eating. So you can't really do macros long term. Well, you can, but the problem is if you miss it, if you don't have your app, if you're not on target, you might go down into shame and guilt, or you might mess up your food. And then that can land itself into a whole other ball of wax where it's like, oh, I've ruined it. I might as well just keep going ruining it. I don't care. So that's where I say women go into child energy, where they're like so tired of being in the mother energy of looking after and managing and controlling and trying to keep everything focused. And then they're like, oh, it's just too much. And they go way over into child energy and they rebel. And that is the roller coaster that is exhausting to the body, the brain, the heart, the metabolism, and the weight loss. So macro counting is something I teach women the value of food and what macros are, because a lot of women will say, well, there's protein in bread. No, 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 forget that. Just what food group does it belong to? It's a carbohydrate. Well, there's protein in lentils. No, 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 no. It's low value. What is it? It's a carbohydrate. There's protein in peanut butter. Okay, there's 4 grams in a tablespoon. Um, it's a fat. And so we need to just simplify our categories to start with. Is it a protein, a carb, or a fat? And don't worry about the little extra grams added in of another category. Just put it into its category. It's pretty simple. And then you start learning what is a quality protein, what is a quality carbohydrate, and what is a quality fat. And in my programming, the Mastery Lifestyle program, we build it for you so that you don't have to get all the numbers and get your app out and all that stuff, because I want women to get freedom from that so they can lessen up all of that thinking in their brain and go into other beautiful parts of their life. Because we get so caught up and there's that we're looking like this when we should be looking like that. And most women or many women are in a prison around their food. And so it also doesn't allow for flexibility when you're hard and fast on the macronutrients. So the flexibility is, what if you go on holidays? What if you want to go out for an evening with your friends? And there are so many people that are so rigid. I used to be one of them, but I was doing it because I was in show. So I needed to because I was in show. But once the show was over, I moved into intuitive and flexible eating and only gained 6 to 8 pounds after each show, because I learned from my first two shows where I gained 30 pounds. I learned how to move into living as a lifestyle athlete in between shows. And then when the shows ended in my 50s, I am now what I call a lifestyle athlete. And that's where I want my women to move towards. And whether they've done macros or whether they haven't done macros, everybody learns portion control. You got to know what half a cup of rice is. You got to know what 4 ounces of meat are. And you need to use your measuring tools so you understand what a portion is and how to build a plate. And then you just do a repeat on that over time and it becomes intuitive. And that's the easy part. So you can't just go into intuitive eating without learning the rules. It's kind of like you can't spend all the money in your bank account because you need to pay your rent or pay your mortgage, right? We have to know what the dollar value is. It's the same with calories and portions. So the most important thing is looking at overall calories, which is also portions, right? It's usually the portions where we go out of line. Friday nights, weekends, so the timing and the portions. And the other one is protein. So again, I've spoken about this a lot in my other podcasts, anywhere from 80 to 120 grams of protein. You can even go higher depending on how big you are, how, your height, your bone structure, that kind of stuff. And protein is your main thing. I'm usually 100 to 120 grams of protein a day. That's not protein weight. It is protein value of the weight. So 120 grams of sliced chicken is like 25 grams of protein. Like I've got it in there. It's in there because I've done this for so long that I can go to a deli and get it and go and eat it and know exactly what I'm getting, how many calories and how many, but it's not work anymore. It's just how I eat. And that's where I want my women to get to. So the meals is where we build 3 or 4 meals. Some women are 5 meals. It could be like 4 meals and a snack. Like we're not going to split hairs here, but some people look at my snack or I'll look at somebody else's and snack and go, that's a meal for me because I'm a smaller person. I don't get to eat as much at 5'2". And so you need still structure around your meals, which is where we do macros, timing, portions, and number of meals. Again, according to where you're at. So we take pictures or you take pictures of your food, you send it to us. We are doing calculations on what the macros are, your timing is giving us an idea of your metabolism. We have a whole questionnaire that comes our way. So we are able to go through, okay, so this is where she's at and this is what we need to build out for her because, and then do we move you up slowly through certain macronutrients? Sometimes, yes. The woman has very little protein. I'm not going to put her up to 100 grams right away because it's not going to work and her body won't be able to utilize it. She'll have digestive issues, constipation, that kind of stuff. So where you're at matters to where you want to go. But where you want to go is where you will stay, guys. So it is about building out a proper meal plan that is based on meals over macros. It's more important. Once the macros are dialed in and they're average, guys, it's not hard. Like I see some women, they get so caught up. And this is where some of them, if they had eating disorders, they come back. Or even in well-intentioned women, they start creating this unhealthy relationship with food where it's all about control. And I see this in overachievers. And that comes out in coaching them. And it's like, okay, we need to look at this and massage this a little bit because you're going way over here and we need to bring you back to center to realism here. So when you're doing meals over macros, you don't have to count. You don't have to play with your food. You don't have to be in a sense of control. You need structure, but not rigidity because rigidity will always make you lose, always. And we're not meant to go that way. The brain likes structure and the structure is consistency. And that's the routine of it because then it understands it's goal oriented. But when it's rigid or worse, there's no plan, there's no goal, and your brain's kind of like, well, where are we headed towards? I don't know. So the structure is important. And this comes into our training as well and our lifestyle, our sleep, our hydration. Structure and strategy is important. But when it becomes rigid, then we become rigid and there's no flexibility in there. And this is where I see women beating up on themselves or they go a little bit squirrely in their brains. And we don't need to do that at any age, but especially at our tender age, because we got a lot of life to live and we need to let go of the steering wheel, guys, and trust. The process is trusting self. Once you learn, once you know what works for you, then you can let go. So find yourself a good qualified coach or nutritionist, somebody who knows this stuff and has had success with women your age and not just handing something out to you guys. If somebody's handing you out a meal plan or a calorie count, run for the friggin' hills because it's kind of like saying, well, you want a what? And you haven't even kissed me. You know what I mean? So you got to go in there and play a little bit. You've got to be in a relationship, a coaching relationship with this person over time because biofeedback matters. Got to see what's working and then you massage it a bit and you've got to build in flexibility and freedom. That is the goal because I used to be a perfectionist. I'm recovering perfectionist. I'm a recovering control freak. And that is, it's a beautiful way to live. So macros matter, but they're not driving the train here, guys. It is about meals. The macros, you learn, you grow, they go into your meals spread out. You can use food templates as well, where you've got 4 meals and you know the protein you can put in there and let the carbs and fats usually take care of themselves unless you're playing with your food again. If you're doing low carb, low fat, high fat, just let it go, guys. Let it go. Or book a call with me. It's free. Okay. I hope that was helpful, guys. Again, meals over macros. Give yourself a break. Your body won't know the difference between 100 grams of protein, 120 grams of protein, and it doesn't care that you've written it down in your journal every single day. That is you working from fear and trying to maintain control. And we need to let it go. This is about trusting in the process and trusting in self. And it is a great way to live. And that is what intuitive eating is all about. Okay, you guys, take care. Be well. Thanks for listening.